My wife lied about working late for months, and when I followed my gut to a hotel room, I exposed her affair and ended our marriage for good forever. Well, my gut was screaming while my wife kept feeding me lies about working late for us. 3 months of overtime that never showed up on her paycheck. 3 months of coming home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. 3 months of team meetings that happened to coincide with her phone being mysteriously silent. The breaking point came on a Wednesday evening. She texted me at 7 o'clock saying the usual, "Big presentation tomorrow, staying late to perfect it, don't wait up." But here's the thing about liars. They get comfortable, too comfortable. She forgot she told me 2 weeks earlier that this particular client presentation had been moved to next month. I sat in my kitchen staring at that text and realized I was done being played for a fool. No more benefit of the doubt. No more trusting her word when everything else screamed deception. Time to get some real answers. First stop was her laptop. She'd left it open, probably figuring I was too trusting to look. Her credit card statements told a story that had nothing to do with overtime. Hotel charges, always the same place, the Marriott downtown, always on her supposed late work nights. The dates lined up perfectly with every single emergency meeting she'd mentioned over the past 3 months. But the real kicker, the restaurant charges on those same nights, expensive dinners for two at places we'd never been together. She was living it up while telling me she was stressed about deadlines and working through dinner with vending machine snacks. I took pictures of everything. Screenshots, photos, the works. If she wanted to play games, I was going to play to win. Next morning, she came down for breakfast acting like the devoted wife. She complained about how exhausted she was from the brutal workday and how the presentation went okay, but could have been better. The performance was almost impressive. Almost. Must have been really tough, I said, buttering my toast, especially having to work through dinner again. She nodded enthusiastically. Oh God, yes, I was so hungry but couldn't leave. Janet from accounting shared her crackers with me around 9 o'clock. Janet from accounting. The same Janet who'd called our house Tuesday looking for my wife because she hadn't shown up to their actual meeting. The meeting that was supposedly why she couldn't make our dinner plans. That afternoon, I decided to take a little drive. Called in sick to work, the first time in 2 years, and positioned myself with a clear view of her office building. Sure enough, she left at exactly 5:30, not midnight like she'd been claiming. Not even 7. 5:30, same as always. But instead of heading home, she drove straight to that Marriott, the same one from the credit card statements. I followed at a distance, my hands gripping the steering wheel tighter with each block. She parked and walked into the lobby like she owned the place. Confident, happy. Definitely not the stressed, overworked wife she'd been pretending to be at home. I waited 15 minutes, then walked in myself. The desk clerk was young, probably new, and definitely chatty when I mentioned I was looking for my wife, who was meeting a colleague there. Oh, the lady who just came in? Yeah, she's here every Wednesday and Friday. Same room, same guy. They seem really close. Always holding hands in the elevator. Every Wednesday and Friday, the exact days she'd been claiming overtime. And there was someone else involved. Someone she felt comfortable enough with to hold hands in public. I thanked the clerk and walked back to my car, my mind racing. This wasn't just about working late anymore. This was a full-blown affair, and she'd been stupid enough to make it routine. That evening, she came home at 11:30 with her same exhausted act, complained about the presentation, mentioned how Janet had been so helpful, and even managed to work up some fake tears about how stressed she was. "This project is killing me," she said, letting me hold her while she performed her tired wife routine. "I just want things to go back to normal." Normal, right? Normal was before she decided our marriage wasn't enough for her. The next morning, after she left for her early morning client call, I made some calls of my own. First to a private investigator I'd found online, then to a lawyer my buddy had recommended when he went through his divorce. The private investigator was expensive but thorough. Within 48 hours, he had photos, times, dates, and most importantly, the identity of her afternoon companion. When he handed me that manila envelope, I thought I was prepared for anything. I wasn't prepared for this. Her colleague was married to her best friend since college. The same best friend who'd been texting her constantly about girls' nights and catching up soon. The same best friend who'd invited us to their anniversary party just last month, where my wife had given this beautiful speech about true love lasting forever. The photos showed them entering the hotel together, leaving together, and in one particularly clear shot taken through the restaurant window, kissing over dinner while their respective spouses thought they were working late. I spread those photos across my kitchen table and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not heartbreak, something much more dangerous, clarity. She'd made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and old coffee. Perfect atmosphere for ending a marriage, I suppose. I sat across from him with the private investigator's photos spread between us, like a deck of cards that spelled out betrayal. "This is pretty straightforward," he said, adjusting his glasses. "With evidence this clear, we can have papers drawn up by tomorrow. The hotel receipts, the photos, the timeline. She won't have a leg to stand on." But I wasn't interested in straightforward. "I want it strategic. I don't want her to see this coming," I told him. "And I want witnesses when it happens, people she can't manipulate or lie to afterward." He raised an eyebrow. "What exactly do you have in mind?" I leaned forward. "Her parents." The plan was simple but brutal. Her parents lived 3 hours away and still saw their daughter as their perfect little angel. They'd been married 42 years, never missed church, and believed marriage was sacred. They also happened to be visiting next weekend for her birthday. Perfect timing. I called them that evening while she was at the gym, or at least, that's where she claimed to be going. For all I know, she was meeting him at some other hotel. "Hi, it's me," I said when her mother answered. "I wanted to talk to you about this weekend." "Oh, we're so excited to see you both. Has she been working too hard? She sounded tired when we spoke yesterday." "Tired, right? Actually, that's what I wanted to discuss. I'm worried about her. She's been staying late at the office constantly, and I think she might be having some kind of crisis. Maybe you and Dad could help me figure out how to support her better." Her mother's voice immediately shifted to concerned parent mode. "What kind of crisis? Is she unhappy?" "I think she's making some decisions that could hurt our marriage. Decisions she might regret later. I was hoping maybe you could help me understand what's going through her mind." I let that sink in. Planted the seed that their daughter might be in trouble and needed saving. "Of course, honey, we'll do whatever we can. Maybe we should come down a day early, Friday instead of Saturday." "That would be perfect," I said. "Actually, I have an idea. Instead of waiting at home, maybe we could surprise her at work. Show her how much we care about her in this marriage." Hook, line, and sinker. The next day, I called the private investigator back. "I need you to confirm her schedule for Friday, exact times, exact location, and I need you to be there with a camera." "Are you sure about this approach?" he asked. "It's going to be messy." She made it messy when she decided to cheat with her best friend's husband. I'm just making sure everyone sees exactly how messy. Friday morning, she went through her usual routine, complained about having to work late again, apologized for missing dinner with her parents, and promised she'd make it up to everyone this weekend. "You work too hard," I said, kissing her forehead. "Your parents understand. They just want you to be happy." She smiled that fake smile I'd grown to recognize. "I know. After this project wraps up, things will go back to normal, I promise." There was that word again, normal. As if normal was something we could just go back to after months of lies. At noon, I picked up her parents from their hotel. They were dressed nicely. Her mother had even brought flowers for her daughter's office. "We're so proud of how hard she's working," her father said as we drove toward the Marriott. "Even if it means long hours. That's the kind of dedication that builds a good life." "Oh, she's definitely dedicated," I replied. "You'll see exactly how dedicated when we surprise her." Her mother clutched the flowers tighter. "Do you think she'll be upset we didn't call first?" "Trust me," I said. "This is going to be a surprise she'll never forget." I called ahead to confirm. The desk clerk, a different one this time unfortunately, had verified that the usual Friday afternoon guests had checked in an hour ago. Room 412, same as always. I parked and turned to face her parents. This was the moment where I either committed fully to this plan or backed down and spent the rest of my life wondering what might have been. "Before we go up," I said, "I need to prepare you for something. Your daughter might not be working the way we thought she was." Her mother's face went pale. "What do you mean?" I pulled out the manila envelope, not all the photos. I wasn't cruel enough to show them everything, just enough to make the point. "She's been meeting someone here every Wednesday and Friday for the past 3 months, while we thought she was working overtime." Her father took the photos with shaking hands. His face went through several emotions, confusion, disbelief, and finally a hard anger I'd never seen from him before. "Who is this man?" he asked quietly. "Her best friend's husband." Her mother made a small sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. "No, not her daughter. There has to be an explanation." "There is an explanation," I said, getting out of the car, "and we're about to hear it directly from her." I brought the divorce papers with me, signed, sealed, and ready for delivery. The lawyer had done excellent work. Everything was ironclad with copies of all the evidence attached. As we walked through the lobby, her mother kept asking if I was sure, if maybe there was some mistake, if perhaps we should call first. "No mistakes," I said, pressing the elevator button for the 4th floor. "And no calling ahead, time for truth." The elevator ride felt endless. Her father stood stone-faced while her mother clutched those flowers like they might somehow fix whatever we were about to find. Room 412 was at the end of the hall. I could hear voices inside, laughter actually, the sound of two people having a wonderful time while their spouses believed they were working hard to support their families. I knocked. 3 firm knocks that echoed down the hallway. "Room service?" called a male voice from inside. "We didn't order room service," came her voice, slightly muffled. More shuffling, whispered conversation, then footsteps approaching the door. "Just a minute," she called out. I looked at her parents. Her mother was crying silently now, still holding those flowers. Her father's jaw was set in a way that reminded me exactly where she'd gotten her stubborn streak. "Remember," I said quietly, "whatever you see in there, whatever she says, remember that she chose this. Every Wednesday and Friday for 3 months she chose this over her marriage." The door opened about 6 inches with the chain still attached. Her eye appeared in the gap and I watched as recognition hit her like a physical blow. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, trying to close the door. I pushed against it gently but firmly. "We came to surprise you at work. Your parents wanted to see how hard you've been working for us." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Now would be a good time to open this door," I said loud enough that anyone inside could hear me clearly. "Unless you'd prefer your parents and I discuss your work ethic out here in the hallway, where everyone can listen." Behind me, her father stepped forward. "Open the door, sweetheart, right now." The chain came off and the door swung wide. Getting her parents on board hadn't been as difficult as I'd expected. The hard part was making sure they understood the gravity of what we were walking into without completely destroying them before we even got to the hotel. After showing them those initial photos in the car, her father had gone quiet in that dangerous way that men of his generation do when they're processing something that goes against everything they believe about their children. "How long have you known?" her mother asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I suspected for weeks. I've had proof for 3 days." "And you're certain it's not just work friends? Maybe they're planning something for his wife?" I almost laughed at the desperation in her voice. Even faced with photographic evidence, she was still trying to find an innocent explanation. "They're planning something, all right," I said, "but it's not for his wife." Her father cleared his throat. "What do you need from us in there?" That's when I knew I had him. No more questions about whether this was real, no more hoping for innocent explanations. Just a man ready to confront his daughter about the choices she'd made. "I need you to see what she's become," I said. "And I need her to see your faces when she tries to explain it away." The walk from the elevator to room 412 felt like a death march. Each step was deliberate, measured, final. Her mother kept adjusting those flowers as if the right arrangement might somehow make the situation less devastating. When I knocked on that door, I felt a calmness I hadn't experienced in months. Not peace. This wasn't peaceful, but clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when you stop hoping for the best and start preparing for exactly what you know you're going to find. The chain coming off the door was the sound of her last line of defense falling away. And there she was, hair disheveled, lipstick smeared, wearing a hotel bathrobe that clearly wasn't hers. It was way too big. Behind her, I could see him scrambling around the room, probably looking for his clothes. Her eyes went from me to her mother to her father, and I watched her entire world collapse in real time. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?" Her mother stepped forward, still clutching those pathetic flowers. "We came to surprise you at work, honey. Your husband was worried about how hard you've been working." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. She had been working hard, just not at anything that resembled a job. "This isn't what it looks like," she started, which was exactly what I'd expected her to say. Her father pushed past me into the room. "Then what exactly does it look like, sweetheart?" That's when we all saw him clearly, her best friend's husband standing by the bathroom door in his underwear, holding his shirt like it might shield him from the consequences of what they'd been doing. Her mother made a sound I'll never forget, somewhere between a sob and a retch. Those flowers hit the floor. "Get dressed," her father said to her, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "Both of you, right now." I pulled the manila envelope from my jacket and set it on the dresser. "These are divorce papers. Everything's already signed on my end. The evidence is attached, photos, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, everything." She lunged for the envelope, but I was faster. "You can look at them in a minute. First, I want you to explain to your parents why you chose this over our marriage. It's not that simple," she said, wrapping the bathrobe tighter around herself. "You don't understand what I've been going through." "What you've been going through?" Her mother finally found her voice. "What about what your husband's been going through? What about what we're going through right now?" I had to admire her mother's instinct to defend me even in the middle of her own heartbreak. "Mom, please just let me explain." "Explain what?" her father interrupted. "Explain why you've been lying to your husband for months. Explain why you're in a hotel room with another woman's husband. Explain why you threw away everything we taught you about honor and commitment. The other man finally found his voice. Look, this is between all of you. You should shut up, I said, not even looking at him. You should have shut up 3 months ago instead of helping destroy 2 marriages. 2 marriages? Her mother asked. I nodded. His wife is her best friend, has been since college. The same friend who's been texting her about girls' nights and coffee dates while her husband was here playing house with our daughter. That's when her mother sat down heavily on the edge of the bed like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. How could you do this to her? She whispered. To your best friend. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, finally seemed to realize that her usual manipulation tactics weren't going to work. Not with photographic evidence, not with witnesses, not with her parents staring at her like they didn't recognize the person she'd become. I didn't plan for this to happen, she said weakly. But it did happen, I replied. Every Wednesday and Friday for 3 months. That's not an accident. That's a choice you made over and over again. Her father walked over to where the other man was still standing in his underwear. You have 30 seconds to get dressed and get out of here before I forget I'm in a public place. I'd never seen her father intimidate anyone before, but there was something in his voice that made it clear he wasn't making an empty threat. The man grabbed his clothes and disappeared into the bathroom. We could hear him fumbling around, probably trying to get dressed as quickly as possible. Dad, please, she tried again. If you could just listen. I'm listening, he said. I'm listening to my daughter try to justify betraying her husband and her best friend. I'm listening to excuses for behavior that goes against everything your mother and I taught you. What exactly am I supposed to hear? The bathroom door opened and the man emerged fully dressed, but looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I'm sorry, he mumbled as he headed for the door. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. None of this was supposed to happen, I said, but here we are. He left without another word, probably to go figure out how he was going to explain this to his own wife. Now it was just the 4 of us. Her parents still processing what they'd witnessed, me feeling more in control than I had in months, and her standing there in a hotel bathrobe, finally understanding that there was no way to spin this, no way to make herself the victim, no way to avoid the consequences of what she'd chosen. I picked up the envelope and held it out to her. Your copy of the papers. Everything's documented. The hotel has security cameras, so if you're thinking about denying any of this, don't. She took the envelope with shaking hands. I need you to know, I continued, that this isn't about anger or revenge. This is about respect. You lost mine the first time you lied about working late. You lost your parents the moment they walked through that door, and you're about to lose your best friends when she finds out what you've been doing with her husband. Her mother stood up slowly. We raised you better than this. I know, Mom. No. Her father's voice cut through whatever excuse she was about to offer. You don't get to explain away 3 months of lying. You don't get to make us understand why you chose to betray everyone who loved you. He looked at me. Do you need anything else from us? I shook my head. I think we've all seen enough. As we walked toward the door, she called out desperately. Wait, please. Can't we talk about this? Can't we figure something out? I turned back one last time. There's nothing to figure out. You made your choice every time you came here. Now I'm making mine. The door closed behind us with a soft click that sounded remarkably like the end of everything we'd once had together. The silence in the hallway after that door closed was deafening. Her mother was crying openly now, clutching her father's arm like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her father just stood there, staring at the closed door like he was trying to process what his daughter had become. 32 years, her mother whispered. 32 years we've been married, and I never once thought about betraying your father. Not once. I knew she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to that door, to the daughter who couldn't hear her anymore, to the values they tried to instill that had somehow gotten lost along the way. We should go, I said gently. She needs time to get dressed and figure out how she's going to explain this to her friend. Her father finally moved. Her friend? God Almighty, how is she going to face that woman? As we walked back toward the elevator, I could hear movement in the room behind us, probably her scrambling to get dressed, maybe calling him to coordinate their stories. It didn't matter anymore. The evidence was ironclad, and now there were witnesses to the aftermath. When we got to the lobby, her mother sat down heavily in one of the armchairs. I need a minute, she said. I need to process this. Her father looked at me with something that might have been respect. You handled that better than I would have. I had time to prepare, I said. You two just had your world turned upside down in the span of an hour. How are you so calm? Her mother asked. If I found your father, I'd be screaming, throwing things, losing my mind. I was angry, I admitted, for about 10 minutes when I first saw the photos. But anger wasn't going to fix this. Anger was just going to give her ammunition to make me look like the unreasonable one. Her father nodded slowly. Smart. She always was good at turning things around, making herself the victim when she got caught doing something wrong. That caught my attention. This isn't the first time? Not the first time she's lied to avoid consequences, her mother said quietly. But this is so much worse than anything we could have imagined. We sat there for a few more minutes, watching hotel guests come and go, all of them blissfully unaware that a marriage had just ended upstairs. A family had just been torn apart. Trust had been shattered so completely that I wasn't sure it could ever be rebuilt. What happens now? Her father asked. Now she signs the papers, I said. The evidence is overwhelming, so there won't be much room for negotiation. We'll divide assets. She'll find somewhere else to live, and we'll both try to figure out what comes next. And her friend? I looked at my phone. I have her friend's number. I'm going to call her when I get home. She deserves to know what her husband and best friend have been doing. Her mother flinched like I'd slapped her. You're going to tell her? She has a right to know. Wouldn't you want to know if your best friend was sleeping with your husband? She nodded reluctantly. I suppose I would, but it's going to destroy her. Her husband and best friend already destroyed her, I said. I'm just making sure she finds out before they can coordinate some story to minimize their responsibility. My phone buzzed, a text from her. Can we please talk about this when you get home? I can explain everything. I showed the message to her parents. Her father shook his head, still trying to control the narrative. What are you going to tell her? Her mother asked. I typed back, there's nothing to explain. You made your choice every time you went to that hotel. I made mine when I hired the private investigator. See you at home to discuss logistics. Her response came immediately. Please don't tell anyone else about this. We can work through this privately. I almost laughed. Even now, caught red-handed with witnesses, she was still trying to manage the situation, still trying to minimize the consequences. She wants me to keep this private, I told her parents. Her father's jaw tightened. Private, like her affair was private. She's going to try to make this your fault somehow, her mother said sadly. She'll say you weren't paying enough attention to her, or you weren't romantic enough, or you worked too much. She'll find a way to make herself the victim. I'd already thought about that. Let her try. I have 3 months of hotel receipts showing her having expensive dinners while telling me she was eating vending machine food. I have photos of her holding hands with another woman's husband. I have her own parents as witnesses to what we found today. Standing up, I realized I felt lighter than I had in months. Not happy. This wasn't a situation where anyone wins, but free. Free from the constant nagging feeling that something was wrong. Free from making excuses for her behavior. Free from pretending that working late 3 nights a week was normal or sustainable. Can we drive you back to your hotel? I asked. Her mother gathered herself together. Actually, I think we'd like to go home tonight. I don't think I can face her right now. Mom, her father said gently, she's still our daughter. Our daughter died somewhere along the way, she replied. The woman in that hotel room, lying to her husband and betraying her best friend. That's not the child we raised. We walked to the parking garage in silence. As I drove them back to their hotel to collect their things, her mother spoke up from the back seat. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry she put you through this. I'm sorry we didn't see the signs. I'm sorry you had to be the one to show us who she really is. You don't need to apologize for her choices, I said. You raised her with good values. What she did with those values as an adult was up to her. Will you keep in touch? Her father asked. I know this is the end of your marriage, but you've been part of our family for 8 years. That means something to us. I looked at him in the rearview mirror. I'd like that. You two are good people. You deserve better than finding out about your daughter this way. And you deserved better than a wife who could look you in the eye and lie about where she'd been, her mother added. When I got home an hour later, her car was already in the driveway. The lights were on throughout the house, like she was trying to make everything seem normal and welcoming. I sat in my car for a moment, looking at our house. My house now, I supposed, and realized this was the last time I'd ever come home to her. The last time I'd have to wonder if she was telling me the truth about where she'd been or what she'd been doing. My phone buzzed again, another text from her. I know you're angry, but please remember that we love each other. We can get through this. She actually had the audacity to use the word love after 3 months of betrayal. I typed back, love doesn't lie, love doesn't cheat, love doesn't betray the people who trust it most. What you did isn't love. It's selfish, destructive behavior that killed whatever we had. I turned off my phone, took a deep breath, and walked toward the house, ready for whatever desperate manipulation she was going to try next. She was waiting in the living room when I walked in, still wearing that hotel bathrobe. She tried to fix her hair and makeup, but the damage was already done. You can't unsee what we'd all witnessed. We need to talk, she said, standing up like she was about to deliver some rehearsed speech. No, I said, setting my keys on the counter. You need to listen. I pulled out my phone and dialed her best friend's number. She lunged forward, trying to grab it from me. Don't you dare, she hissed. Hello, came the voice on the other end. Hi, it's me, I said, stepping away from her reaching hands. I need to tell you something about your husband. What? Is everything okay? I looked directly at my wife as I spoke. He's been having an affair for the past 3 months, every Wednesday and Friday at the Marriott downtown. The silence on the other end was devastating. Who is he with? Her friend finally whispered. Your best friend. The phone clattered to the floor from the other end. I could hear sobbing, then shouting, then a man's voice trying to calm her down. He was already home, probably trying to figure out how to spin the story. Too late for that now. I hung up and looked at my wife, who had collapsed onto the couch like her strings had been cut. You just destroyed everything, she whispered. I destroyed everything? I sat down across from her. You spent 3 months lying to everyone who trusted you, and somehow I'm the one who destroyed everything. We could have worked through this privately, she said, tears streaming down her face. We could have gone to counseling, figured out what went wrong, saved our marriage. What went wrong was you decided to cheat with your best friend's husband, I said calmly. There's no counseling for that, there's no working through months of calculated betrayal. She tried a different approach. I was unhappy, you were always working, always tired, we barely talked anymore. So instead of talking to me about it, you decided to talk to him in hotel rooms while naked. The crude reality of it made her flinch. It wasn't supposed to happen, she said weakly. It just evolved. Nothing just evolves over 3 months, I replied. Every time you lied about working late, that was a choice. Every time you met him at that hotel, that was a choice. Every time you came home and pretended to be tired from work, that was a choice. My phone rang. Her friend calling back. Answer it, I told my wife. She shook her head frantically. I answered. Hello? Is she there? Her friend asked, her voice raw from crying. Is she there with you? She's here. Put her on the phone now. I held the phone out to my wife. She shook her head again. She doesn't want to talk to you, I said into the phone. Then you tell her something, for me, her friend said, her voice getting stronger. You tell her that 20 years of friendship just died in a hotel room. You tell her that she's not welcome at my wedding anniversary party next month. You tell her that if I see her face again, I won't be responsible for what happens next. The line went dead. She says you're not invited to her anniversary party, I said. My wife started crying harder, not the pretty, manipulative tears she'd used before, but ugly, desperate sobs that came from someone who finally understood the full scope of what she'd lost. Everyone's going to know, she choked out. Everyone should know, I said. Actions have consequences. You made a choice to betray the 2 people who trusted you most. Now you get to live with everyone knowing what kind of person you really are. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. What about forgiveness? What about second chances? Forgiveness is earned through genuine remorse and change behavior, I said. You're not sorry you cheated. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I stood up and grabbed the manila envelope from where she dropped it. Sign the papers. You have 48 hours to find somewhere else to live. After that, you can explain to everyone else why your marriage ended, and your best friend won't speak to you. Where am I supposed to go? She asked desperately. Not my problem anymore, I said, walking toward the stairs. Maybe your boyfriend can help you figure it out. Oh wait, he's probably busy trying to save his own marriage right now. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at her one last time. You know what the worst part is? I actually loved you, really loved you, and you threw that away for afternoon hotel sex with someone else's husband. I hope it was worth it. I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and finally allowed myself to feel the relief of knowing I'd never have to wonder where she really was again. She signed the papers the next morning. No dramatic confrontation, no last-minute bargaining, just her signature on the dotted line and a quiet acknowledgement that she'd lost everything worth keeping. I found her in the kitchen at 6 a.m, the divorce documents spread across the table where we used to eat breakfast together. She'd changed out of that hotel bathrobe into regular clothes, but she still looked like someone who'd been hit by a truck. I signed everything, she said without looking up. The house, the car, the savings account, it's all yours. I know, I said, pouring myself coffee. My lawyer made sure the terms were fair but firm. She finally looked at me. Fair? You get half of what we built before you decided to destroy it, I said. That's more generous than you deserve. But I'm not vindictive. I just want you gone. Her phone had been buzzing constantly since the night before. Probably friends and family hearing the news. Probably her trying to manage the fallout. I didn't ask and didn't care. Her husband moved out, she said quietly. She threw him out last night. Good for her. 20 years of friendship just gone. I sat down across from her with my coffee. You made that choice when you decided her husband was more important than her trust. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at the papers. Do you think she'll ever forgive me? Would you forgive someone who did this to you? The question hung in the air. We both knew the answer. I found an apartment, she said. I can move out today. Good. That's it? That's all you have to say? I looked at her, really looked at her for what I knew would be the last time. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry this happened? That I wish things had been different? That I hope we can be friends someday? She nodded hopefully. I'm not sorry this happened, I said. I'm grateful I found out who you really are before wasting any more years of my life. I don't wish things had been different because different would have meant more lies, more betrayal, more time wondering why my gut was screaming that something was wrong. And we will never be friends because friends don't destroy each other the way you destroyed me. She started crying again, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. That part of me had died in room 412. I loved you, she whispered. No, I said, standing up. You loved the security I provided. You loved having someone who trusted you completely while you did whatever you wanted. You loved having your cake and eating it too. But you never loved me enough to be honest with me. I walked toward the door, then stopped. Your keys? Leave them on the counter. She fumbled with her keychain, hands shaking as she removed the house key and car key. The sound of metal hitting granite was final. 2 weeks later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of her choices had physically diminished her. She tried to smile, tried to make small talk about the weather. I didn't engage, just nodded politely and continued shopping. That's when I knew I was truly free. No anger, no hurt, no curiosity about how she was doing or whether she regretted her choices. Just indifference. The kind of indifference you feel toward a stranger who once briefly disrupted your life. 1 month after that, I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved back to her hometown. Her parents had taken her in, though relations were strained. Her former best friend had started divorce proceedings and was telling anyone who'd listened exactly why her marriage had ended. Justice in its own way. I changed my phone number, deleted all our photos together, and donated her leftover belongings to charity. Not out of spite, but out of practical necessity. I was building a new life, and there was no room in it for reminders of someone who'd valued afternoon hotel meetings more than our marriage. The house felt bigger without her constant presence, but not empty, peaceful. For the first time in months, I could come home without wondering where she'd really been all day. 6 months later, her parents called to check on me. They'd stayed true to their word about maintaining contact. How are you doing? Her mother asked. Better than I expected, I said honestly. Some days are harder than others, but I don't miss the constant anxiety. She asks about you sometimes, her father said carefully. That's not my concern anymore. We know, we just wanted you to know that we're proud of how you handled everything. You did the right thing. I'd done the only thing that preserved my self-respect and dignity. Sometimes that's enough. Looking back now, I realize that the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the months of feeling like I was losing my mind, doubting my instincts, making excuses for behavior that should have been inexcusable. The hotel room confrontation had been brutal, but it had also been liberating. No more wondering, no more doubting, no more second-guessing my gut. Just truth, consequences, and the freedom that comes from refusing to accept less than you deserve. Some people might call what I did cruel. I call it necessary. She made her choice every time she walked into that hotel. I made mine when I decided not to pretend it never happened. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.
Bro, what the fuck, bro? The craziest part is you'd think that the one person that would know where people are landing and like where to play would be the Valk. They have the fucking ability to see people in the air whilst we're flying in, and it scans them and puts a big box around them and says, "Hey, bogey," right on top of our heads. People landing on us, by the way. The only team on this entire half of the map, and we're getting fucking rolled by them because we just don't respect it at all. Fuck me, man. And of course I got a fucking Havoc as the only gun in the whole bottom floor of that building. Like, what? I get a Havoc, this motherfucker gets a Hemlock. Havoc Nomad might be the worst gun in the game. For level 1 fights. Am I crazy? What gun would you rather have? A Havoc? Or... what's the worst sniper? Charge rifle? Low-key charge rifle.
That monarch gave up more than its battery, so I could stand here.
Gonna be a good match.
Charge bangs though? Well, what's a bad gun? What's a gun worse than the Havoc? Like, look, I genuinely think I'd rather anything. I'd rather a single Mozam. I'd rather a single P2. I'd rather...
is your champion.
Literally everything. I can't think of a worse thing.
Hold on, fellas.
And it was all I got, and I ran out of ammo. It's all I had, and I had no ammo. It's like actual nightmares. Why does it have so much recoil? I didn't even notice, to be honest. What's its intended use supposed to be? Like, until you get the fucking instant charge up thing? What's the point?
I think we should go there. Oops, not that.
Bro.
Bogey, got ourselves a bandit out there.
Enemy landed by me. Watch yourself, pups. Grabbing him a knuckle damage. Letting rip an enemy shield.
Fuck's sake, bro. Imagine I get that. Would have been nice.
Looky here, lads. We're inside the ring. Reloading. Enemy knuckle cluster.
Got one. Mayday, mayday. We're grounded.
I got fucking 2! Hey guys, I got 2, don't worry!
Contact with hostile.
Quarter of 44 damage. This is the guy that was fighting first, by the way. This is the guy that I ran in to cover for. 0 damage. He didn't shoot a single fucking person. I think I've got one more in me before I need to switch games, dude. Solo queue Apex is not cooking. The fact that I almost got that first kill, our land was so shit. Deadlock? I could maybe play some Deadlock. Maybe. What else would I play instead? It'd probably be like Slay the Spire or League. And I haven't played League in ages, which is sad. I don't think it's Vow. I play League for Demacia points? Dude, I forgot about Demacia points. That's how long it's been. My Demacians are probably like crying. They're probably full fetal, wondering where I've been.
We got this round squared away.
We must strive to make it out. Between you and me, they'll be between a rock and a hard place.
You fell pretty far behind. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm dead. I'm pretty sure my guys, if it's like a Tamagotchi, my guys have all shit all over the floor and they're just laying in it and dead.
Oh, brothers, it's a great day to be jump master.
Unforgettable.
Hey, stay on me. I'm the jump master.
My squad's gonna beat up your squad.
Dude, I really want to know what bro was thinking when he jumped out and he's like, actually, let's go terminal. How late was his idea to go terminal? And then he fucked it. And then he wasn't even landing at, like, the entry into terminal. He was landing in the middle of nowhere. It was nightmarish. Pokemon minigame in League would go hard. Pokemon?
Enemy over there.
What's the best shotgun, guys? I had some fun with the PK that other game, so let's just say PK.
Enhance this weapon. It's looking bad to the bone.
I'm also a big Eva. When Eva 8's good, it's so nice. But I just don't think it's good.
Hey, eyes on the maps. Next ring's not close.
1 minute and the
I don't know how to spell Tamagotchi, so I said Pokemon. That's, Pokemon and Tamagotchi are just so different, though. That's why I was confused.
enhanced weapon will now hit an undeniable mark.
Not much time. Ring's far.
Oh, brother bad. Two of my greatest loves in my life that you're mixing up. I got a fucking Havoc again, by the way, guys.
Ring ain't far. Half of one. Let's reposition here.
I hear no heartbeats.
Ten seconds. Right next door. Easy.
Dragon is spotted over there.
Ring's moving, brothers. Keep the hustle.
You used a Tamagotchi for 1 day before forgetting it. Bruh.
Enemy spotted. Taking damage over here. Recharging shields.
Unveiled.
Got company out there. Care package incoming. Let's get to the open. Enemy spotted.
Opponent here.
Am I stupid?
Got me.
Am I stupid? And then dude, how could I not fucking climb? Like, actually, how bad was that? And then I almost got the one clip. If I get the one clip there, I'm probably cooking. Whatever. We got gold 3. Yippee. I said it was a gimme. It was not a gimme. It was a mental sanity check. Holy shit.